So as I've stated in a previous video, I bought this car off of a friend of mine, an older gentleman, before he sells his acreage and moves into a retirement community. And he is finishing the body work and painting it for me. And then I'm going to finish the mechanical on the car. And yeah, it's a 28 Oldsmobile. The engine's out of a 46 military truck. It is a 270 cubic inch 6-cylinder. The rear end is a 74 Ford Maverick. The front end's a 39 Chev. The body's all custom. It's a total mismatch of random parts, which is what a hot rod's supposed to be. And I want a traditional hot rod, and it's going to be a nice one. But it needs a lot of work, and that's what I'm here for. And the body is off. And he's going to do the work to it and everything. And I've got the chassis at home. And it didn't have a drive shaft. The transmission wasn't mated to the engine. It had an exhaust manifold. It's all stuff I yanked off or had to get built. And that's where the video starts here. So here we are. It's time to start working on the old 28 Oldsmobile Roadster. The Silver Fox is done as it can be for now. I even went the extra mile and put a stereo in it. And now it's got a era correct, speckle painted, 2 10-inch caption subs. And I tried to make it as era correct as possible by doing the same kind of crappy work I did when I was 19. And I think I nailed it. Anyway, time to start working on the old Oldsmobile here. And I got a lot of stuff to do. This thing is mocked up at best. So we already know this engine runs. He had it running on an engine stand. It was supposedly rebuilt like a generation ago, and it's in mint condition except for looking dirty and old from sitting in his shed or in a shop under a counter. But so I gotta take it out, paint it. I already built the headers for it. It had an exhaust manifold, but it came with headers that didn't fit. I made the headers fit. I don't even know what engine this is. It might be, it's not a 250, it's too old for that. It might be a 236, it might be a 251. I'm not a Chev expert. This is a GMC engine, I suppose. But anyway, I'm going to take it apart, paint it. I'm not taking the engine apart, I just mean take it out, paint it. The transmission, it's been mated to a T5, so it's a 5-speed, which is going to be awesome. But right now, the clutch is out of it entirely. It was all just mocked up. Like, he just put it together, got everything lined up. So I got to take it back apart, put the clutch in, put it back together. I got to build the drive shaft for the back. It came with it. It just needs to be built and length changed. And then the back brakes are not in, but everything's been gone through. And there's tons and tons of boxes of random parts that it came with. And some of these parts are important, like windshield brackets and stuff like that, because this is I'm going to try and do a reasonably era correct job on this car. I want it to look the part of, a hot rod in the, 40s or 50s or something. So I got a bunch of work done. I got this thing all painted up, and then I decided to start checking stuff out before I put it back together. I put a new thermostat in it, resealed the thermostat housing, and went through a bunch of stuff. Looks like $1 million. But water pump. So the water pump spun rough. The bearing sounded rough. So I figured I should at least check it out. And I'm sure these things are very hard to get a water pump for. And this is a prime example of why you can't believe what you see on YouTube, or even believe what people on YouTube say, because a lot of the time it's total bullshit. So this water pump is probably really hard to get. I completely destroyed it. The videos on YouTube, they just put a puller on it and it just comes off. If you see how bad I distorted the washers, those are thick washers. I absolutely struggled to get this pulley off. By the time I got this off, there's nothing left of the water pump. I had to clamp it in the vise so hard I broke the casting because this was so tight. Impacts wouldn't do it. I had to double wrench everything. I bent everything. This puller's garbage. I bent a second puller trying. So all that crap about, it'll come apart, It will not. That was a lie. It didn't even come close to coming apart, in fact. So I got the pilot bearing in, I got the clutch in, I got the clutch release lever, the release bearing, everything. It all works. Everything's good. I'm actually impressed because the guy I bought this off of is a body man, not a mechanic, and he got it pretty damn dead on. I'm like I said, legitimately impressed. The reason I'm showing you guys this is, as you can see, I've got a ratchet strap. And right now it's holding the clutch in the depressed position. So the clutch is released right now. So the transmission spins freely, even in gear. Yeah. Well, it's a little draggy, but that's because it's not pulled to its maximum length. Anyway, the reason I did that is because they don't make a plastic insert tool to mate a Tremec T5 from like 1987 with a 1940s military GMC engine. So I had to line up the clutch by eye, as centered as I could, and then run up the bolts. And then I torqued everything. And then when I went to slide this together, it didn't line up. And I had to jiggle it to get it in. And it wouldn't quite go in. So I had to release the clutch so that the clutch could move up and down. And then it just slid together like butter. So these are the kind of things you have to improvise on. Another thing I would have done differently had I built this from scratch is the cross member. As you can see, the cross member is directly below the clutch, and the bell housing on this thing, it doesn't come off. You have to take the clutch off to get the bell housing off. So the only way to do the clutch on this thing is to remove the cross member or pull the engine out, which is not acceptable. So what I'm going to end up doing, I think, is when the time comes to do a clutch, which it should be years and years and years, it could be forever from now, this cross member right here, I'm going to cut it off and I'm going to weld it so it can be bolted in and out. This part of it will stay. That part will stay the same, but that part will get cut out and bolt in. And these are the things we do to fix these problems. Some gifts just keep on giving. So this is an old Derby engine that I pulled out of a Suburban, and there's something wrong with it. It probably has a bent valve or something. It never ran properly. But I want this 2-barrel this carburetor for my hot rod project. It's a good thing I saved this engine because the truck went to the crusher. So typically what people do is, when you're building a hot rod, you want more horsepower than the factory car would have had. So this thing's already got a different engine, so it's got more power. And now it's got headers, but now we need to do something with this. So what most people do is they throw money at it. That's not the name of the game with me. They would put a Offenhauser intake that takes 2 or 3 of these single barrel carburetors. But that costs a fortune. It does. So I think the real answer is to bolt on a more modern 2-barrel carburetor. So we gain the performance without spending any money, and it's more traditional hot rod. I just have to cut the top off this intake manifold to accept a larger carburetor. It's going to be a little bit of a thing, I'm sure, but that's the name of the game, really. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. So it's all done now. I did a bunch of porting to get this on. I trimmed all the garbage off the top of the intake manifold. And as you can see, now it's got a twin inlet. Now, it doesn't look that big, but it's significantly bigger than it was before. It was actually quite pinched off. So I took the liberty of also porting everything out and smoothing it out as best I could to get a little bit better airflow. It's not going to help a whole lot when I can't get in here, but it's all right. This thing, there's limits on airflow with this thing anyway, because it's only got 4 pipes for 6 cylinders. So it's never going to be a rocket. But that was never the point. Look at that sassy thing. It looks like just a monster carburetor on that thing now. So yeah, I guarantee you that's going to make a difference. I just don't know how much. Might not be something I can measure very easily. And I can't exactly put the old car back on because I modified the shit out of the intake manifold. What you do is just like anything else, you heat the cast iron with a torch, or you put it in the oven, whatever you want. I get it to the point where, you know, it's well over 100 degrees. C, I don't know what that is in F. Damn these Eskimo denominations. Anyway, I heat it up till it's too hot to touch, over 100 degrees C, and then I start doing all the welding on it. Everything has to be good and hot. You made it up, you weld it up, then you heat it and slowly cool it, and then it doesn't crack and break off, hopefully. Time will tell. I'm sure it'll be fine. So the next step to this project is the car is going to go away to Buddy's place, and he's going to drop the body on, finish the body work. We're going to prime it, paint it, and then it'll come back here and I can do everything I have to do to it mechanically to finish it. But I want to test run it since I built this carburetor mount and everything, and I want to see if my headers leak really bad, which they probably will. And it's got no water pump, so I can't run it very long. I just want to run it and make sure it runs. I've got it rigged up with a battery. This thing is foot start for young people out there who don't know about this. It's you push on this rod with your foot and it engages a starter there. So it's pretty casual. So yeah, I just got to put power from the positive post on the battery or on the starter to the coil. That's it, and it's ready to run. The reason these old cars are so easy to steal back in the day. Oh, little side note, if you're going to use spray 9 jugs for gas, make sure you don't spray 9 in there and it's actually the gas one that you're putting in the carburetor. It will not run on spray 9. Sure seems like it has no spark. So I think I figured out what was wrong, and from what I can tell, the problem was just the points were corroded on the distributor. For people who haven't dealt with points before, there's a reason we went away from them. But it wouldn't make a spark before. Oh, now it's not sparking again. Oh, that's a bad sign. Oh. Yeah, it's probably not going to start because there's no continuity between the distributor. Never mind. No, it's got spark. I already charged up the capacitor. That's why it didn't spark that time. Oh, let's see what it does. That might be the actual issue with the carburetor too. The carburetor might just be no good. I mean, that's never happened. Set a little bit high. That's actually not bad. Started right away. It's burning off a little bit of garbage on the headers I welded and the head that's painted and everything, but that's not a big deal. Let's see if we can't get that idle time down just a little bit. I don't want to run it too hot. It shouldn't run too hot, not running very long, but team. So this is an old headlight. I don't know what they're from. I bought them off of the same guy I got the car from. Paid $100 for them. I think 125 maybe. And they are obsolete, absolutely obsolete bulbs. The connections are all rotted. It's all garbage. All the connections are garbage. So I'm going to update them with, like everything else, 90s OBS Ford stuff. So what I did was I hogged out the hole in the center to accept an OBS bulb. Now I got to build a little holder on the back to hold the bulb in. And there's even a little spot for a little auxiliary bulb. I might put a little LED or something in there. But all I did was I cleaned the housing. I got the rust off of it. I spray painted it chrome on the inside. And I spray painted it blue on the outside. And yeah, it should look like $1,000,000 when it's done. This is the kind of stuff you got to do when you're building a hot rod, because you just can't buy this stuff. Like even if you could, it'd be crappy LED reproduction, and you don't want that. Look how rough that is, full of rust inside. And this one just looks like $1,000,000. Yeah, that'll work just fine. That's the kind of half-assery I live for. Oh, it's time to move a car. Anybody who's wondering why I'm using the old Power Stroke to pull this thing, old Barney, it's because the silver truck doesn't have back mud flaps yet, and it's tall and has big tires, so it will fling rocks at that radiator shroud, which I do not want. So I'm pulling it with the 7.3 Power Stroke because it's low to the ground by comparison anyway. So this is the hole where the car was, and I forgot to videotape me dropping the car off because I'm dumb like that. Buddy was nice enough to hook me up with the emblem though, and the emblem for this thing is spectacular. You guys will love this. I'll include a picture of it on the car. Hopefully the next time we see the car, it will be painted completely and on a trailer headed here to be final assembled.